The scream tore through the night like a blade, sharp and raw, echoing off the crumbling walls of Blackthorn Asylum. It wasn't human, not entirely, but it carried a weight of anguish that stopped Clara's heart cold. She stood frozen at the rusted gates, her flashlight trembling in her grip, its weak beam barely piercing the fog that clung to the abandoned building like a shroud. She wasn't supposed to be here. No one was. The asylum had been boarded up for decades, its history of torment and death a whispered curse in the small town of Harrow's End. But the dreams had brought her here, vivid, relentless visions of a girl with hollow eyes, begging for help. Clara, a skeptical journalist in her 30s, didn't believe in ghosts. Yet here she was, chasing echoes of the damned. Clara had always been driven by truth. Growing up in a fractured home, where her father's lies about his drinking and her mother's silence buried their family in pain, she'd learned to dig for answers. Her career thrived on exposing corruption, but this story felt different. It wasn't just a scoop, it was personal. The dreams started a month ago, after she'd stumbled across an old article about Blackthorn's closure in 1973, following reports of patient abuse and mysterious deaths. The girl in her dreams, always in a tattered white dress, had a name, Emily. Clara didn't know how she knew that, but the name burned in her mind, pulling her to this forsaken place. She pushed through the gate, the metal groaning under her touch. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and something heavier, grief, maybe, or rage. The asylum's halls stretched endlessly, littered with broken gurneys and faded medical charts. Clara's boots crunched on shattered glass as she moved deeper, her flashlight catching glimpses of graffiti. "They're still here." Her stomach twisted, but she pressed on, driven by the need to understand Emily's story. In a small office, she found a file cabinet, its drawers jammed with damp, yellowed records. One folder, labeled Emily Carter, 1968, felt like a punch to the gut. Clara's hands shook as she opened it. Emily was 16 when she was admitted for hysteria. The notes described her as uncooperative, delusional, claiming she heard voices. The final entry, scrawled in red ink, read, "Deceased. Cause unknown." Clara's breath hitched. The dreams weren't random. Emily was real, and she died here, alone and forgotten. But why was she reaching out now? As Clara closed the file, a faint sob echoed down the hall. Her heart pounded, but she followed the sound, her flashlight flickering. The sobs led her to a padded cell, its door ajar. Inside, the air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to pulse. "Emily?" Clara whispered, her voice trembling. The sobs stopped, replaced by a whisper, "Help them." Clara spun around, but no one was there. Her flashlight died, plunging her into darkness. Panic clawed at her, but Clara wasn't alone for long. She wasn't the only one drawn to Blackthorn that night. Across town, Marcus, a former paramedic with a haunted past, had been plagued by his own nightmares. A recovering alcoholic, Marcus had lost his job after a breakdown, triggered by guilt over a patient he couldn't save, a young girl who'd died in his ambulance. Her face haunted him, and lately, it had morphed into another girl's, one he didn't know but felt compelled to find. When he saw Clara's car parked outside the asylum, he knew he had to follow. He'd heard the rumors about Blackthorn, the stories of souls trapped within its walls, and though he didn't believe in the supernatural, his gut told him something was wrong. Marcus found Clara in the padded cell, curled in a corner, muttering about voices. "You okay?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chill crawling up his spine. Clara startled, her eyes wide with fear, but she recognized the sincerity in his weathered face. She told him about Emily, the dreams, the file. Marcus listened, his jaw tight. He'd seen enough pain in his career to know when someone was carrying a burden too heavy to bear alone. "I've heard her too," he admitted, his voice low. "Not her name, but cries. Like she's trapped." Together, they agreed to search the asylum, driven by a shared need to uncover the truth. Their first challenge was the building itself. Blackthorn was a labyrinth, its corridors twisting and collapsing, with locked doors and flooded basements blocking their path. Clara's flashlight was dead, and Marcus's phone battery was draining fast. They relied on moonlight filtering through cracked windows, each step testing their courage. The asylum seemed alive, its walls groaning, shadows shifting just out of sight. Clara, usually so composed, felt her skepticism crumbling. Marcus, battling his own demons, fought to stay focused, the urge to drink clawing at him as fear mounted. Their second challenge was the truth they uncovered. In a hidden room, they found a ledger detailing experimental treatments on patients like Emily. The asylum's head doctor, a man named Dr. Hargrove, had conducted unauthorized procedures, claiming to cure mental illness but leaving patients broken or dead. Emily's file hinted at something worse, a ritualistic element, with references to appeasing the voices. Clara's journalistic instincts kicked in, piecing together a story of abuse and cover-up. Marcus, reading the ledger, felt a surge of anger. He'd seen neglect in his career, but this was deliberate cruelty. The ledger listed other names, other lost souls, and Clara realized Emily's plea to help them wasn't just about her. The biggest challenge came when the asylum seemed to fight back. As they tried to leave with the ledger, doors slammed shut, and the air grew thick with whispers. Clara saw Emily's figure flicker in the shadows, her hollow eyes pleading. Marcus heard screams, not just Emily's but dozens, a chorus of the damned. Doubt crept in. Were they losing their minds? Clara's fear of being dismissed as irrational, like her mother had been, paralyzed her. Marcus, haunted by his failure to save that girl years ago, felt the weight of his past threatening to crush him. But they leaned on each other. Clara's determination to expose the truth grounded Marcus, and his quiet strength gave her the courage to keep going. They faced a final test in the asylum's chapel, where they found a hidden altar stained with dark, unsettling symbols. A photograph tucked beneath it showed Emily and other patients, their faces blank with terror. Clara realized the voices Emily heard weren't delusions, they were the trapped souls of Blackthorn's victims, bound by Hargrove's experiments. The whispers grew louder, urging Clara and Marcus to destroy the altar. With no time to question, they smashed it, using a rusted pipe from the floor. The air erupted in a deafening wail, then fell silent. The oppressive weight lifted, and Emily's figure appeared one last time, her eyes soft with gratitude before she faded. Clara and Marcus escaped as dawn broke, the ledger clutched tightly in Clara's hands. They faced one last hurdle, convincing the world. Clara published an exposé, using the ledger and Emily's file to reveal Blackthorn's horrors. The story sparked outrage, leading to an investigation that uncovered more evidence of abuse. Marcus, inspired by their fight, returned to his work as a paramedic, vowing to honor the lost by saving others. The town of Harrow's End held a memorial for Emily and the others, giving them the dignity they'd been denied. The story of Blackthorn wasn't just about ghosts, it was about facing the past, confronting fear, and finding strength in shared purpose. Clara and Marcus, two broken people, found healing in their fight for the damned. Their journey showed that even the darkest echoes could be silenced with courage and truth. For the people of Harrow's End, and for the millions who watched Clara's documentary on YouTube, the message was clear: no one is truly forgotten if someone dares to listen.